Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus here with me on the show. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're absolutely delighted that you can join us on a regular basis, whether you join us live or indeed at your own leisure. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, and if you download the app, you'll get all the latest breaking news at your fingertips. There's lots to talk about, as well as looking ahead to the Scottish Premiership over the weekend of Saturday and Sunday. We're going to discuss European football. Lyon thump Rangers at Ibrox. Brendan stands by his tactics after that mauling in Germany. Hearts bag their first win of the season and do the old coefficient no end of good. And Inverness need £1.6 million, and that's just to survive to the end of the season. So, lots to talk about. Let's get into the meat and bones of Ibrox Park. Lyon, 4-1 win. It was emphatic, but Rangers did have chances and opportunities in that game, Ruffy.
Yeah, the first 10 minutes, they could have got the first goal. I still don't think it would have made any difference, because for every chance that Rangers had, Lyon had a couple and all, and Jack Butland again had 2 or 3 saves. So if you're going to count the chances you got and count them as goals, the game could have been 7-2, 7-3. But at the end of the day, I think the Lyon class was there, particularly in the front three. I thought the 2 Rangers fullbacks just got ripped to shreds, and they fell into a wee bit of the category like Celtic. They just can't defend against top-class opposition.
Yeah, Philippe Clement reckons that, once they get the goal, you then have to chase the game.
And we had to chase the game also, and that's the big difference. If you start the game and you can score first 1 goal or even 2 goals we should have scored, then they need to chase the game, and it's a totally different story. But we didn't do so, we didn't reward ourselves, so at the end you don't deserve more.
Well, he's fairly honest in his assessment, but I think every Rangers fan in there is looking and wondering, how did Czerny miss that? It was an absolute sitter, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's not the first time he's missed an equally as bad one. They're probably not as bad over the Malmo. He's clean through the goalkeeper, Peter, and he's got all the time in the world to pick his spot and put it wide. A pivotal moment in the game. I thought that Lyon looked ropey at the back. I think they've lost 12 goals in their first 6 games in the league, and I can see why with their defending last night, but Rangers just didn't have the quality in the final third to punish them. They had lots of balls into the box, crosses, scrambles, and they were gifted a goal really with a poor headed pass back. And all in all, I thought Lyon were streets ahead of Rangers. I think they had gears to go up as well, but the positives for Rangers were they did create chances in the first half. The negatives for me were defensively. I thought they were really poor defensively, and they could have lost 6-7 goals, similar to Celtic.
Yeah, I was looking at the back line. They certainly gave up chances, Ali, but the front three were magnificent for them. I was just Cherki, Lacazette and Fofana. He's only 19.
Yeah, excellent. I agree. I think there could have been more goals in it. I think, it was just basically a very lopsided game. I know Rangers, I take Philippe Clement's point that there were chances at stages in the game, but I just thought Lyon looked streets ahead.
Yeah, and the other thing about it, Ruffy, with the fallout from these situations is, I was looking in social media and you get both sets of fans wallowing in how crap we all are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the whole bottom line is, if our best 2 are crap, what does that say about everybody else?
Yeah.
These 2 are beating everybody else. So it just, if you try and analyse it like that and look at the bigger picture, it means that Scottish football's not particularly good at that level.
Yeah, that's the frightening thing about it. I think in the commentary, Rory was talking to Ali McCoy, and they were talking about the fact, a couple of years, 2-3 years ago, you had Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's side, being able to go toe-to-toe and take some good scalps along the way. The gap at the moment, or just maybe, and I think this is more of the pertinent point, maybe overall, I think the recruitment process is key to it all. It's getting those gems, it's getting those players that understand how to go and play in European football and unearthing those little golden nuggets. The recruitment hasn't been great at Rangers, and I think that's the general consensus, even from within at boardroom level, on the recruitment level at Rangers has not been great. They deserve the credit from the Malmo result, but this was a real chastening coming back down to earth.
Yeah, it was, Peter, and you're right. 2-3 seasons ago, they looked a really, really strong team. They took some massive scalps, particularly at home. Teams like Leipzig, beating Dortmund away from home, brilliant results, but they look miles away from that now. The recruitment has went backwards. I think that you can tell that with the performance last night. The players have went out the door, have not been replaced with better players, so they're not as good a side now. And I think obviously getting the result away to Malmo maybe raised the hopes of the Rangers fans that they could compete in Europe, but I think you're right. It was brought back down to earth with a bang last night. Second half, they were, Tavernier getting taken off is another one for me. His position for me is really under pressure now. I think that the Rangers fans have turned on him. He was dreadful. It was at the final goal that came right across the box, and he got done at the back post again. So I think that you'll see that Tavernier's position at Rangers is really under pressure now. He's got two decent players coming in, pushing him for that place now.
Easter Road Revolution on YouTube. It's great because nobody actually goes by their normal name on there. That's just taglines, but some people do. Kenny, who's from Los Angeles, an Aberdeen fan, uses his name. Our Easter Road Revolution makes a good point though. Our game is a mess. Grassroots needs totally redone on our football philosophy. Somewhere along the line, we understand the mechanics and the economics of the wealth that's down south, and they're able to cherry pick the best of anything that we've got in a youth. But if we have a bigger pool of half-decent youth players, then some of them can still stay in this country. Scottish football as a whole, I don't think we should be absolutely battering it right now for that situation, because I think Rangers, when they do have a good recruitment, whether it's Scottish players or foreign players, Ruffy, they have been able to play, produce, fly the flag, get the coefficient points over the last 5 years. But I just thought last night, off the back of Borussia Dortmund dismantling Celtic, was a worrying situation, because they'd spent a few quid in the summer as well.
Yeah, I think you'd seriously, I hate when the old firm managers usually come out with we can't compete with their teams. Like Lyon spent 188 million, we only spent 20. That comparison could be thrown out everywhere, even in our own league. I mean, all our teams, apart from Rangers and Celtic, could come out with that excuse every Saturday when they get beaten by them. So you've just got to deal with it. I think it's just organisation,
What do you mean by organisation? Because Brendan Rodgers is getting slaughtered, and we'll get to him in a minute, but he's getting slaughtered for his tactics and he's standing by them. Was there something so wrong with the way Philippe Clement set up his team?
No, I think he was okay. And in this particular game, I thought that Lyon had better players and better positions. Particularly in the front three, midfield as well. They seem to have a different kind of pace than what the Rangers players had. The finishing was better. Yeah, if Rangers finishing were as good as Lyon, they might have got something out of that game, but they haven't got the quality that Lyon had. I don't know how much these guys up front cost, but they'd be more than what the Rangers players have cost.
Well, I think rightly so, we were salivating over the close control of Cherky, but the boy Fofana, who's only 19, I think he was about 20, just short of 20 million to sign him on. And he just looked as if he could beat anybody on the park, and I think that's the key to it all, Tam, apart from obviously the ability to retain possession. Connor Barron's pass, a blind pass from a midfielder into an area which is just a no-go area if you can't see it's on, and suddenly they're all over Rangers and the ball's in the back of the net.
Yeah, and that's the level you're at. If you'd done that against, no disrespect, St Mirren or St Johnstone, it probably wouldn't be a goal. You'd probably get away with it and get back in and maybe clear the danger. Against quality players, you're going to get punished. I thought Fofana and Cherky in the wide areas were superb. Lacazette didn't really look as if he was in the game much, and then bang, 6-1 in the top corner. And probably could have had a hat-trick in the end. So, no,
the curling one must have been... see, when you get to a situation where you know that there's... before we said this, we talked about the fact that they had a lot of quality, and I thought maybe I was being optimistic, thinking Rangers could get a draw. But when Lacazette just goes away and just bends it into the roof of the net, you think...
Yeah, and it was absolutely scalped. It was a bit of curl. The goalkeeper never get near it, and they were just quality. You look at the guys, they didn't play. Zaha, I think, wasn't involved. Benrahma from West Ham. There are a lot of guys on the bench who cost big money, but Yeah, I thought Lyon middle to front looked very good, but defensively, I think if they come up against a real quality outfit, Lyon, I think they'll get punished defensively. I don't think they're great at the back, but Rangers just didn't have the quality in the final third to punish them.
That's a good point though, Ali, because, you know, if we're going to look at things in a greater context, I think you have to do that. There are teams that both Rangers, Celtic and Hearts who are left, there are teams that you are going to come up against that can give you an absolute doing. There's about 2 or 3 in each group that you think you'll be lucky to get something. And then your battle is elsewhere around the teams that maybe are in that same mould. So if we're going to be fair and cut some slack to Celtic, you've got to be fair to Philippe Clement and the Rangers side and say, well, maybe this is one of those battles that was, you know, it was always against them to get something from that.
I would agree with that to a point. However, I would say that I think you want to be winning your home games, or certainly you want to be taking something from your home games. I think 4-1 at home is a difficult scoreline. It's a sore one to take. As sore as Celtic's was on Tuesday night too, it's very sobering. Just a reminder of the standard that you're up against and just where you are. But I do think fundamental to any progression is making your home grounds particularly tough for opposition to come to.
And the next one again, Ruffy, is at home where they really do have to bounce back. Rangers, Steaua Bucharest.
Yeah, I mean, as Alison said there, you're looking at this game when they were a force. I don't know how good they are now. They don't seem to be getting to the final in any big competition. So Rangers will be looking at that game saying that's got to be 3 points. The game away from home where they got 3 points was a wee bonus. You know, everybody thought if they got a draw, it'd be good, but they got a win. So, I mean, you can bounce that against the game last night if you want, but you've got to win the next one. You've got to keep picking up points because the quality away from home is obviously harder to beat.
And there's a wee suggestion, I don't know if it's going to gather pace, well, we'll find out off UEFA, that Rangers could be in trouble with the fireworks and the and the flares. I mean, the UEFA must be throwing out some amount of fines right across Europe.
Yeah, well, we've seen it repeatedly, we've seen it time after time, and they don't tend to take instances like last night's casually. I think if Rangers are found guilty of a firework going off within the stadium, I think they could be in serious hot water with UEFA. I think it could potentially go beyond a financial penalty.
Yeah, you don't like to see that. I don't know about you, Tam, but they just don't seem... there's a group of fans just don't seem to learn their lesson from it. And I'm not just talking about here, but definitely in Europe, you see it all over the place.
Yeah, and as you said, UEFA, come down heavily on that sort of stuff. It'll be fines. The fines will keep increasing, and Rangers have, there's not a lot of money in the pot as it is. So, yeah, listen, we all want to see an atmosphere at the games, but if it's taking 5 minutes to clear smoke and all that for the partner, throwing flares on, it's dangerous for players as well. So I think Rangers will get punished for it.
Okay, must get your thoughts on it, because I know a lot of people will be hanging on your every word on it, but if we're going to be negative about Celtic and Rangers, it's time to be positive. Hearts have got their first win of the season.
Yeah, listen, I watched the game. I thought they deserved to win. I thought they were the better team. Unfortunately, it was a behind closed door game, so there wasn't much of an atmosphere. It was quite eerie, actually. It was getting back to the COVID seasons.
Yeah.
You could hear every shout. And listen, I think that's a massive win for them. Getting it in the manner they did, in the last kick of the ball, getting the winning goal. Great start to their European campaign. They'll take that confidence, hopefully, onto the game against Aberdeen. They've got a tough game. But I think if you're a Hearts supporter, you're breathing a sigh of relief, because the longer it went without getting a win, the worse it was getting. So that could maybe kick them on this season. But it was a great result for them in Scottish football. We get points in the coefficient, and I think Hearts get 400 grand or something for the win. So all in all, a good night for Hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. Delighted for Yandanda to get that goal, because he was on the bench. Most of the Hearts signings have been on the bench, which is not so much a sad indictment of them, more a case of, I think, Liam Fox just trying to go for tried and trusted at the moment, just to try and steady the ship until the new manager comes in.
Well, we saw what Dander was like up at Ross County. There's no doubt about it. He's got quality. Whether the European style of football would help him a wee bit better than the hustle bustle of Scottish football. You know, it's good you get the goal. It's good confidence. I think Penrith's got a game as well, and Spittle got a game. So that's the three, the new boys in the team, and a winning side, which can only give them confidence.
You know what I love about you, Ruffy, as well, which is great. It's a great thing for Ali to look back on it. You use great old catchphrases that when Ali was a young reporter in the newspaper game, she wouldn't have heard it for a long time. And then she just says, hustle bustle. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that for such a long time. It's fantastic. Yeah, and if you can get Square going before the end of the programme, I'll be absolutely delighted with you, Ruffy. So, anyway, fair play to them. The chief executive, Andrew McKinley, has said, you know, the way things are going, and I think we expected this with Tony Bloom, the way things are going, the manager will not be Scottish who's coming in. Boy, they're not rushing it, are they?
No, I think they'll take their time and try and get the right candidate. But yeah, I think you know for a fact that they'll use the analytics, so the Jamestown analytics, and it'll be cast their net to see who basically meets all criteria that they have selected. I think it's very interesting. I think it's an experiment that could potentially put them in a really good position. If you look at what's happened down in Brighton, how successful it has been, then I think it's fairly intriguing to see what they can come up with and just how it actually operates. I mean, I have to say, I still don't think it goes to the fact that you bring in a manager through this way and you're almost selecting the team through AI and through analytics. You know, I think it will still be the manager has final say on team selection and essentials. However, you're using every fine margin to try and tailor things to exactly what your requirements are.
Strangely enough, though, Ali, I think, you know, I think most of us, I understand where you're coming from, but I think now most of us have to change our attitude or our insight into what a manager does nowadays, because most of the time I'm looking and I'm saying to myself, you've got such a vast array of people in the background who are almost like an American football side. You know, you're Austin McPhee's, and we talked about Alan Russell, you know, his job with strikers. You've got a situation where there are a group of people who actually just pick players and say, right, we've picked them in these positions, you coach them. You just coach them and pick your team. You know, there are some owners who get involved in telling the manager who they want to be playing, but that's very much the exception to the rule.
Yeah, I think that's more a European thing. It's starting to come into the game here, where a director of football or head of recruitment would go and pick players and buy players. You'd have a list, you'd take them to the manager, and the manager would say, right, yeah, and they would go and try and sign one of them. So, yeah, I think it's an interesting concept with Hearts. It's fascinating that there's not been one name come out in terms of Hearts. There's not one link or one rumour. You know, there's absolutely nothing, which tends to indicate that they are keeping everything under wraps and it's all getting done by Jamestown Analytics and on the quiet. And I'm sure that when they've got that manager selected, they'll go and try and get him. But you're right, sometimes your eyes are your best judge, Peter. And it'll be interesting to see Hearts how they get on with this new concept.
It's interesting though. So it's the compromisation. It's like if you bring in a head of recruitment or you bring in a director of football, your manager role is a coaching role rather than a manager role. It's like he's subservient then to your managing your football managed director of football. Sorry, it took me a while to get there.
Yeah, don't worry about that, by the way. Ruffy usually goes round the houses.
But, it's interesting because you essentially then have a philosophy of how you want to play, and you're saying here are the players that we believe fit our system. This is the mould and the shape that we want to play in.
What happens if it doesn't work?
What's his job?
What do you mean?
What happens if this analytic thing suggests
his job?
whatever things and it doesn't work? Do you bin it or do you just keep going? I mean, if they say these players come in and this team gets relegated, I know it's working at Brighton now, but say it was used at another club and they got relegated, who owns up to it? Got it wrong?
Well, at the end of the day, I think like anything, Ruffy, in life, if something isn't working, eventually you do change it, you know?
Yeah, but what you're saying is this, I don't know how it works.
I don't think there's any guarantees, Ruffy.
They're saying the player and they're looking at this player, you know, and his lifestyle and everything that goes with it. If you think of the wonderful players that we've had through the years, does that mean that they wouldn't have got picked?
Well, no, because...
We're talking about the George Best and the...
No, because what happens is, Ruffy, you do this, the whole thing is almost like a situation where you put every detail, every minute detail into the server, and it equates it all and says, right, this guy is going to run for this amount of time. This guy gets 18 crosses into the box. This guy will score this. This guy's technical ability, if you were saying it was out of 6, would be 5.7. So suddenly you're putting all of that into the mix and you say, can he fit into the way we want to play? He runs up and down. I mean, I'd love to have seen the report. I'd love to have seen the report on Daisen Maeda. I mean, honestly, can you imagine it? I mean, it would be, this guy runs like a machine. I'm sure he's a robot. He never runs out of gas. He just keeps closing everybody down. He can't cross, and he's starting to get better at scoring, but it's not high on the agenda. But you look at it and you say, wow, do we need that type of player in Europe who can run forever and a day? He's still got some good technical ability.
Take all your financial situation into account too, so it'll be who have you got that fits this kind of profile in terms of salary, finances, contractual situations, all of that stuff comes into the mix, and it will say, well, here are 3 or 4 players that we believe meet your needs and suit the needs of your team, will fit in. I still think that a manager would probably have final say on that. I still think that a manager would go and you would have an opportunity to say, well, yes or no.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's still that element of it, I think, that still exists. Some people might disagree. It's a great talking point on it. Interestingly enough, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have some people in who are going to talk about this very topic. I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, but there's somebody coming in who's going to give us a wee insight into that, Ruffy. I think a lot of people, David McLeod, George Best would have made it, actually. And to be
Don't touch him.
To be fair, I mean, let's get real about it, Ruffy. We've got this player. His name's David Cooper. He can beat players for. He's only got one leg. And by the way, see that leg? It can destroy everybody. He's on his left. John Robertson, Nottingham Forest. He's got no. I mean, can you imagine John Robertson's remit? You know, when you look at his report card, it would say
pace 0,
no pace whatsoever.
ability 100.
But on either foot,
Likes a half-time fag.
He likes a half-time. By the way, he likes a half-time
fag.
Yes, and then he gets 5 yards past your left or right and can whip the ball in and also he can score goals. Yeah. I mean, listen.
That's when football was simpler.
He likes a Guinness now and again.
Yeah. And Ken Dalglish, fat arse, genius. You know what I mean? Brilliant. What more can you ask for? David McLeod says, UEFA giving out big fines all over Europe gives them a right good end-of-season piss-up. It's not a bad line from David. I think he's on the case there with that. Ewan Montgomery, I don't know, Ruffy, I think I don't know if I'm being unkind or kind to you in this and just observation of it all, but I think the tide is turning on you now. I've noticed a kind of a real edge of vitriolic, you know, dislike of Ruffy now, whereas the last 11 years he's been the housewife's favourite.
Because he's getting a bit more
That's what happens when you
punchy with his opinion.
Well, no, Ewan Montgomery, Ruffy lives in the dark ages. There's quite a lot of people not having
Burztop as well.
Yeah.
Ruffy isn't having this. He wants to bring back 4-4-2 and fish suppers before games.
Yeah, Ruffy doesn't like the newfangled ideas. There's a lot of.
I hold my hands up to that. Yeah,
I hate Ruffy.
Old school. I can't get my head around
Here's
it.
the other one. You're just making them
Ruffy's
up now.
clueless. I hate Ruffy.
Is that just you? William Smith says, Ruffy, going to do me a favour? Can you tuck your jacket in? White label sticking out on your left-hand side. I mean, that's what's happening now. They're absolutely picking on you for everything. There it is. There it is. There, turn it in. Just shows you how.
It's a fashion show now.
Exactly. I know. So anyway, I think the overall.
I hold my hands up. I'm not buying into it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm old school. Sometimes it takes you a while to.
It takes us back.
I just can't get my head around it. This whoever picks a manager and he's there for 6 months and then he gets sacked. But this computer said he's the real deal. You have to take him because he's this, he's that, he's done that, he's done that, he's done this.
Not everybody, Ruffy.
And it's not
It's giving you a margin of.
Yes, it's not giving you the real deal. It's you're basically gambling. You're taking all this information and saying this guy suits
Percentages.
This guy suits the biggest percentages of what your needs are. This guy will fulfil them most effectively than the other 5 candidates that you have, or the other 8 candidates, or
And the other
whatever
thing
it may
is,
be.
there's also the potential for improvement. because managers can improve players. But the upshot of it all is Dynamo Minsk 1, Hearts 2. It's a good scoreline, and well done to Hearts for it. Liam Fox, this is what he had to say on the whole thing. I'm delighted for the players, first and foremost. It's been a long time since they had that feeling of sitting in the changing room and having the victory, and I'm delighted for the supporters. We need to keep the resilience and keep the mentality. If we do that, you give yourself a chance of winning some games. So we have to obviously compliment them on that. As far as other British sides are concerned, Porto 3, Manchester United 3. I think they were ready to absolutely cane Ten Hag, and he turned out to be a tactical genius. Tam,
Hey, Harry.
He brought on Harry Maguire.
I know. 2-0 up early doors, you think, oh, it's going to be a good win for them. Then 3-2 down, you think he's out the door, and then they get an equaliser. But defensively, Man United again, just shipping goals for fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's. Can you hear the
Dead man walking, isn't he?
I think he is. Yeah, you're right. Scottish Premiership this weekend. Really looking forward to it. Before we get, just one little footnote, because we haven't had a chance to speak to you about it, Ruffy. I know you discussed it on the journals this week, Ali. But I think Celtic's hammering. So everybody and their grannies had their chat about it. What did you make of it?
I don't know where to start. I agree, we all like the style of football Celtic play here, but I think there comes a time when you play better sides, you've got to have some kind of formation that's going to restrict the score, because I don't think a team of the magnitude of Celtic should be getting hit 7-1. I think you should be going out into games better organised with better players. I mean, I was looking at the Celtic team, and I've said all along, they're great, enjoying every minute of it, enjoying all the goals, enjoying everything, but they haven't been tested by anybody in our league who's going to pin them back. And that was the case the other night there. That's the first time this year that they've been up against it, and it's proved that certain players in the Celtic team can't defend properly. Their organisation's all over the place. And I'm looking at the team, and any time I look at the Scotland team and I see two sitting defenders, where was the sitting defenders the other night in the Celtic team? Two sitting defenders are supposed to protect the back four. There was nobody protecting anybody. It was just a gung-ho performance, and I'm looking at the team and I'm going, who's the Scott Brown? Who's the Neil Lennon? Who's going to really get to somebody and say, hey, you're going to be in a game here? There was nobody prepared to put their foot in anywhere. And I thought that was a big mistake, obviously.
I thought they were soft. I thought Celtic looked physically weak.
Well, this is what, I want to tell you about this, Tam, and you can give me your thoughts on it. This is what Brendan Rodgers had to say today. When the competition is really high and the stakes are high, then you have to expect defeat sometimes. And if you don't, you're a dreamer. If you dream, then you don't have a long career in management. The idea is to get over the setback, which is what I've done my whole career with teams, and to look to bounce back onto a higher level. He also went on to say, Tam, quite simply, that he's sticking by his tactics, and I'm gobsmacked. And I'll tell you why, Tam. I'm gobsmacked because I watched Aston Villa play Bayern Munich. Unai Emery, who's won the UEFA Cup. I mean, I don't know what if they've given him the original UEFA Cup and said, here, you keep it, because you know how to win it regularly. But he's sitting in against Bayern Munich, and then they pick them off with one moment. I don't get it.
I called it Monday. I did say that he won't change, Peter. He's not going to change now. I think that Brendan will. He's got one way of playing. That's it. And he'll try and do that better against Atalanta. I think they'll try and be better on the ball. They'll try and cut through Atalanta more. They'll try and be better in certain phases of the play. But he won't. He's not going to go and sit five across the back. He's no chance of doing that. He'll go again and he'll try and be better in possession and take their chances and be better defensively. But yeah, Unai Emery's a great example, Peter. I don't think anybody expected Aston Villa at home to sit in, against Bayern Munich. But I think he appreciates that. Maybe Bayern Munich are better than us. Maybe they've got better players than us. And if we open up and go toe-to-toe with them, we're not going to get a result. We spoke about Ancelotti doing it. He played Man City 2 years in the trot. First year, they went toe-to-toe with them. Man City battered them. Second season, I've never seen a Real Madrid a team sitting in my life. Yeah. They sat in at Man City, got the result, and went through and won the whole tournament. So, listen, Brendan's a top manager. He's a long career in the game, and he's going to do what he believes is right. I don't believe it's right. I think you should be a little bit more pragmatic and defensive in your approach to try and, as Ruffy says, maybe restrict the other team and stay in the game. But Brendan won't do that. They'll play the same way against Atlanta in Italy, 100%.
Well, the reason he'll play the same way against Atlanta is because if he changes it, he's admitting he's wrong.
Well,
And he won't admit he's wrong.
Yeah, it's an ego thing as well, I think.
Well, do you want me to tell you something, Ruffy? I don't care if he changes it and somebody gives him in the neck. I think he needs to change it. And I know some people are looking at, we're only talking about over in European football because of what we've witnessed this week. We'll move on to the Premiership shortly. But Joseph McGonigal makes a good point, the definition of insanity, Peter. And it sums it up. If Brendan Rodgers suddenly gets a dose of humility and turns around and says, well, I need to change it, that's his job. A coach is not a coach who just sits and lives or dies by a certain principle. A coach is there to analyse in a sporting context, who are the opposition, how am I going to win the game and nullify their points by utilising what I have at my disposal. That's what a coach should be thinking, not I'm brought up to play attacking football and that's all I'm going to do. I mean, my God, you only have to go back to Celtic's history. I mean, he wasn't too happy about it, but Jock Stein decided in one of the games,
Semi-final.
Dukla Prague, I'm going to sit in here and we're going to defend.
Yeah, it's almost as if pragmatism has become a dirty word in certain circles when you're lining up and you know you're going up against better teams. I think you saw it too with Ange Postecoglou, an unwillingness to change a style, an almost rigid sticking to this is my philosophy, it's the way I want to play, and I think my teams will improve by playing this way. But I think time and time again you have seen it come undone, and I think this is Brendan Rodgers' fourth Champions League campaign in charge of Celtic, and you look, there have been some absolute hidings along the way. You think of Barcelona, PSG, Atletico, Dortmund on Tuesday night. I don't know that you can... I think no one really expects Celtic to come away, on for example, on Tuesday night with 3 points, but you expect them to be a lot more competitive. You expect them to be a bit more streetwise, a bit more savvy. Not only were they soft, but I also felt as though they panicked when they were under pressure. You could sense the alarm whenever Dortmund kept coming at them, and they did just keep coming at them, particularly in that first half when it was just wave after wave of attack and just cutting them wide open. There was a point in that game where you could have feared it might have hit double figures. That's how one-sided the game was and how open Celtic were and how eager Dortmund were to exploit that. And I think Atalanta could be every bit as tough. I think you look at what they've done in recent seasons in European football, that will be just as formidable as Tuesday night. To me, I think you have to look at it, you have to look at the players you've got and think, can you set up in a different way that might give us an opportunity to soak up some of the pressure? Brendan's spoken before saying, we know we're going to have to suffer at points in the game. You know when you're up against a better opponent, you're going to have to suffer. Is there a way you can set up to absorb some of that? And then just take something on the break, a bit like what Aston Villa done on Tuesday night. To me, I think I would probably consider playing Adam Ida, playing someone who can go up, maybe hold the ball up, bring others into play, just enable you to catch your breath a bit, because Kyogo was anonymous the other night simply because there's no service coming in. Every part of the action's taking place in the other half of the field. I'd be tempted to go with the physicality of Ida and maybe just sit in a bit more.
I wouldn't tell him anybody to play, Ali. I would just say change your style. I would just say change the formation and change the tactics for Atalanta, or you're going to get spanked again. That's what I would say. Kenny says, please don't compare Rodgers with Jock Stein, Peter. Jock was so far ahead. I'm not comparing him with anybody in any capacity whatsoever. I'm just saying that we're watching football and coaches, the great coaches, and Ancelotti, Emery's a great coach. Mourinho, they look and they say to themselves, Mourinho's a classic example. I'm glad you pricked it out there. Inter, you know, they won the Champions League. He had flair, but he had a real mentality of let's make us difficult to break down and then we'll pick our moment. I think good managers can survive in this league. Great managers can survive and work out a way to win in Europe. Martin O'Neill did it. Neil Lennon managed it. Gordon Strachan did it. Brendan.
It's a very good case in point when you think what he had to do with bringing a wage bill down at the same time. There were no superstars by that point in that team. You think of who was in the team at that point when Celtic went up again. They went out against Milan, an extra time goal. You know, you would argue now that the quality is higher within Celtic's ranks. But the other thing too, I think, is that this being married to the idea of playing out from the back. Celtic continually played themselves into trouble on Tuesday night, continually gave the ball away, and then you're giving the ball away in areas where you're easily going to be picked off. You saw it 3 times, Dyson Maeda conceding possession at the edge of the box, Alistair Johnson conceding the ball just all the time, playing yourself into trouble, trying to play out from the back. There is no shame in saying we're up against better players, better teams. We have to compromise on how we want to go about it. I think Brendan spoke there about, you know, if you're a dreamer, if you're going to do that. I think there has to be an understanding that the game has progressed so far in Europe compared to where it is in Scotland, that there has to be a changing of it if you're going to survive and make it. And when this draw was made, there was much optimism of Celtic getting out and qualifying at least through the playoffs. Fundamentally, they can still do that. It's still very much an achievable objective. But I do think what you have to see now in the next away game is an ability to change, an ability to say, this is why we lost that game, and this is how we're going to address it.
As far as the weekend's concerned, they're back to domestic issues where Celtic are at the moment, in many people's eyes, in a one-horse race. This is how the Scottish Premiership is looking over the weekend. Some good games: Dundee, Kilmarnock, Hibs, Motherwell, St Mirren, Dundee United on the Saturday. We're going to talk about them shortly. We'll also talking about the Dandy Dons, who just can't stop winning. Ross County and Celtic, Aberdeen, Hearts and Rangers against St Johnstone, all to discuss. You can give us your point of view on European football, by all means. We'd love to hear what you've got to say on that. We've got lots of games that we want to obviously talk about. And on the Saturday, 3 games. The boys, Hibs against Motherwell is one that we're going to discuss, because there are some good young Scottish players that are catching our eye. First of all, as far as Easter Road's concerned, we sent our reporter Patrick through there to get the thoughts of David Gray.
Hibs are preparing to take on Motherwell this weekend as they look to build from that promising performance against Rangers last weekend. While there were no points picked up, David Gray has found the positives and is hoping his side can show that once again against another tricky opponent.
In terms of where the group's at and how the training has been this week, I'm really looking forward to the weekend. Now, everyone's trained really well, and we need to make sure that that's not just because you've went to Ibrox and you can raise your game for that. That's just the standard that we need to take into Motherwell at the weekend, to a team that are flying, doing really well, well organised, well coached, and it'll be a real tough test again this week. So that's been our focus, to make sure that there's zero complacency and it's all about what we can do.
One of the star men for Hibs this season has been Kwon in the midfield. He's received his very first South Korea national team call-up, and David Gray was full of praise for his midfielder.
He's done excellent. I think it's exactly what we expected from him. You know, he done really well on loan last season, and I think just you've seen him getting stronger, getting fitter, the way we are training, the way we work, and the way he's starting to get the ideas on what we want him to do. I think he's done really well, and I think that's credit to the squad, the club, for him going and getting the international recognition. I think when you come to a club like this, it does give the players who haven't had a call-up yet the chance, if they are performing on the big stage, especially at Ibrox at the weekend, for example, that this is an opportunity to try and push into your national team. And we've seen many players who haven't had caps who come here that go on to develop that. So it's a real credit to everyone involved, really.
It's Hibernian versus Motherwell at Easter Road. Kick-off is Saturday at 3 p.m. and PLZ Soccer will be there live, keeping you up to date.
What do you make of the Hibbies now?
Yeah, as I said, Peter said in the show on Monday, that was a good performance against Rangers at Ibrox. No points. I feel as if Hibs haven't really got what they deserve this season in terms of points. I think some of the performances they've put in have deserved more. I think Dundee at home, they should have won that game. Kilmarnock away, they should have won that game. Rangers away, they should have got something out of the game, in my opinion. So it's okay me sitting here saying that Hibs are playing well and they're looking good, but they've got to start winning games, Peter.
Should they be winning the next 2 games ahead of the derby?
I think they should be, Peter. I think you should be looking for 6 points. I know Motherwell on a decent run this season, he's right. They are a well-organised team, but I think with the quality that Hibs have got in their squad now, Dwight Gale coming on, I thought Junior Hoylett against Rangers was superb. You know, they've got Martin Boyle come back in, Ellie Youhan. They've got a strong team. I thought defensively they looked good.
You like one?
I thought he was excellent. I thought him and Triantis in the middle of the park were excellent against Rangers. They look a big, powerful team now, Hibs. And first time I think I've ever said that. It's usually Hearts you associate with being big and strong and powerful, but Hibs going up against Rangers at Ibrox at set plays and long throw-ins, you think they look far bigger than Rangers. So I think they've got to start picking up points, Peter. And listen, I think tomorrow's a perfect opportunity, and I would fancy Hibs strongly to go and get 3 points.
I've worked with a lot of pundits down through the years, Tam. You are like getting on a roller coaster. It's fantastic. I never know which way you're
No,
going.
but I think I've been quite positive this season.
Yeah.
I think I've been, you know, straight down the line with David Gray. I think he'll do well at Hibs, but they need to start picking up wins, Peter. I think performances have been good. They're creating chances, as you've seen at the weekend against Rangers, but they need to start taking them, and I think they will against Motherwell.
I think he just needs time.
He does need time, Peter. He needs time. I think the Hibs supporters are seeing it, are looking at the games and going, we're actually playing okay here. We're not, you know, we're not really picking up a load of points so far, but I think they can see that there's shoots of recovery there, and if they're patient, I think they'll have a good, David Gray will form a good team at Hibs.
Okay, what about the Motherwell camp? Kerry Pollock was there.
Stuart Kettlewell's men are preparing to take on Hibernian this weekend at Easter Road, and with the hopes of making it 3 wins on the bounce. Kettlewell added that after netting his first goal at the weekend, Lennon Miller is keen to add to his tally this season.
We challenge each player to ensure that they have a specific thing that they're working on every single day. They have to take ownership for that, and it's safe to say that that's one thing that Lennon wants to start adding to his game. That's kind of been point one on the list for him just now, is to go and start seeing if he can pitch in with more goal contributions.
And it won't be long until the Steelmen are at the National Stadium to take on Rangers in the Premier Sports Cup semi-final. However, this Wales boss insists his side aren't looking that far ahead just yet.
I can genuinely tell you that we've not spoke about the semi-final. I've not heard one murmur of it from the group of players. I think you could see where motivation was purely St Mirren at the weekend, and we could have got caught up with ourselves and started to read our own press and all the rest of it. But where I have a massive trust is I keep going back to the staff, I keep going back to the senior players, that if anybody starts to mention that and starts to get carried away with themselves, they would be firmly put back in their box. And that's not a threat, that's just how it has to be. That's how it's always going to be, as far as I'm in charge of a football club, because these games that we have to face in the lead up to that are far, far too tough. And if we start detracting 20-30% of our attention somewhere else, then we're going to leave ourselves seriously short for games.
Both sides will be aiming for a win before we head into the international break. Kick-off is at Easter Road this Saturday at 3 o'clock.
What's your prediction?
3-1 to Hibs.
2-0 to Hibs.
2-1. Hibs.
2-1 Hibs, okay. I'll go 2-1 Hibs as well. I think we might as well all go for it in that. Who knows, Stuart Kettlewell might come up with something that surprises us. Dundee against Kilmarnock, the Dens Park side have lost 3 on the bounce, Ruffy. I don't think Tony Docherty's going to panic though.
No, by all accounts last week he thought he was a better team. They just didn't get the goals that they needed. I think they've just went off the boil just a wee bit. You know, I think as far as this game's concerned, I think the onus is on Kilmarnock. I mean, Kilmarnock don't win this one. You know, that's a horrendous run they're on. Obviously, the international break coming up. And if you're down the bottom of the league, or second bottom, you know, you can stroll about moping about that for about a fortnight, you know, and everybody, the whole players will be as well, and the supporters. So I think they need a win just to lift the players and the support with the success they had for last year.
Yeah, I don't think anybody. It's amazing though, because of the stature of Derek. Nobody's looking and saying, "Oof!" Under pressure. They reckon with his experience, and I share this view that he'll get himself out of that bottom area.
I think so too. I think what you see is the effect of European games at the start of the season for a squad that doesn't really have the depth to cope with that. Now, we've been saying that though for the last month. I do think it comes a point where you think you have to start getting points on board. I think they'll get a point. I think they'll get something at Dens Park on Saturday.
Yeah, another draw.
Four draws.
That's his fifth. That'll be his fifth.
They'd be a favourite for the old Pools, wouldn't they? The old Pools panel, a draw. But I think a draw as well, Peter. I think it's difficult to separate both of them. And I think a draw would maybe suit both of them as well. I think it's a game that Kilmarnock wouldn't want to lose. Going to the international break, you know, second bottom of the league, possibly bottom.
Yeah, I mean, they've been tough to. They've started to just make themselves difficult to beat.
They should have won last week.
Should have won last week, though. They're 3-1 up. I don't know, Ruff. This is the toughest one of the whole weekend to call. I'm going to go Dundee to just edge it 2-1.
Well, obviously, if Kilmarnock continue in the vein of losing the goals they lost last week, they're going to be in the end of it again. And I agree with you. I think Dundee will beat them. Just 2-1.
Yeah. What about yourself, Ali?
2 each.
2 each. Okay. Draws. You've gone draw mental.
No, I had a win in the previous one. Tips 1 and 2-1.
Okay, just testing you.
Keep up.
Yeah, fantastic. I like you. I see you get your shinnies on. St Mirren against Dundee United. Despite, obviously, I think you'll be delighted fighting back. But Jim Goodwin says when you look at the overall picture here, he's well happy with Dundee United's return to the Scottish Premiership. Should he be?
Yeah, I think so. I think the first year you're in there, you don't want to be in that bottom three. You want to be winning games, holding your own against some of the bigger sides. So I think if he's just hanging about the top 6 position, it'll be a successful season for them. But I don't know if they'll get a strong enough pull to see out the whole season. So the more wins he gets just now, the better.
I think he's right to be pleased. 5th.
It's a very tight league, Peter, as we know. There's not a lot between 4th all the way down to the bottom at the minute. A couple of wins either way, you can fly up the table, or the opposite, you could get down towards the bottom. But I think they'll be pleased. 9 points, decent start from the first 6 games. They've had some tough games in there as well. So again, this will be a game that will be targeting a win. St Mirren, I think, will be round about Dundee United this season. And again, it's another tight one for me to call. I'm going to go for another draw here, 1 each.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sunday. We'll get to eventually Celtic and Rangers, but let's talk about Aberdeen because our man Kobe has been all over it up there for the press conference.
Joint table toppers Aberdeen take on bottom of the pile Hearts on Sunday. However, Jimmy Tilly knows how quickly all that can change.
No, but that's football sometimes. Sometimes, and then it can be everything can turn really quick in football. It's difficult to say the reason sometimes, but I think like the last 2 games, they have good things inside the team and they have good ideas, and let's see what's happening, but hopefully we can win on Sunday.
A win for Aberdeen on Sunday would open up a 19-point gap between the Dons and Hearts. However, Jimmy Tilleen insists it's too early to look at any of that just yet.
No, as I told you before, it's so early in the season and I'm not thinking about the past or how much gap is to other teams. It's so early. We have a lot of games to play, and for us, our only focus is this game and also how they performed the last 2 games. They have done really well. Play stable. Liam have made some changes and some good things that have changed and add into the team. So we need to be 100% prepared for the game on Sunday. So that's we can talk about the table and we have one game to play at the end of the season, but not now.
Aberdeen take on Hearts on Sunday. Kick-off is at 3 o'clock.
Love Kobe. He's just a top.
He'll need to stay at the gym.
Yeah.
Jersey needs to get. You need to get him a bigger jersey. The muscles are big, and he's turning into Superman.
He is. I think he's working out in the gym, but he's absolutely top drawer for us. What a fabulous young prospect we've got up there in Kobe, following all things Aberdeen. 19 points. They could be ahead of Hearts if they can win this one. It's absolutely outrageous.
It's exceptional, and I do fancy them to win. I think Hearts going into the game on the back of that trip. Coming home late, then you've got a trek up to Aberdeen fresh this week, and of course on the crest of a wave at Pittodrie, loads of energy, loads of optimism around the club. I fancy them to win it.
Yeah, yeah, and thanks to so many people who've been very complimentary, because Kenny says Kobe is brilliant, which he is. He's up there, and the good thing about the Cobster, he's not got that attitude of some Aberdonian people that we invite to parties who don't turn up. If I shout party, Kobe has already booked the room and he's down and he's staying for the...
He's already been doing it. He's done another one like most Aberdeen people. He bought a drink as well.
Eh? Well,
he did buy a drink.
You were nearly putting yourself in there.
3-0 Aberdeen.
Yeah. I was going to say to you, the reason I'm saying that is because, Ruffy, and this is why we've got to be good about this, Kenny says, Peter, I've booked my flights. I'll be home for the United game, the Rangers and the Celtic semi-final. I'll pop in for a visit the Friday before the semi-final. So, dare I suggest it, should we get him on the couch?
Yes.
I think it's a great idea, isn't it? Yeah?
Yes.
So, we'll get Kenny on the couch and we'll just... we might as well get a fan on the couch talking about the Dundee Dons. They've done well.
Aye.
You happy with that?
Yep, get him in.
That'd be great. You
You're,
get him on after the semi-final.
You're also
I want
bringing...
to get him on a downer, Ruffy.
If you're bringing him in at the,
Let's get him full of optimism.
the toughest month, this is the month where...
Oh, this is... I told you not to mention October. The Dundee Dons don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Although if they could get off to a flyer this weekend.
Yeah, don't dig yourself out of a hole because October's coming, Tam. We've predicted they've predicted their downfall in October.
Yeah, they've got a
And
really
it starts with this game.
If they're still in the title race in November, then we'll start to take the Aberdeen seriously, but they've got a tough month coming up, but I think they'll beat Hearts comfortably. I'm going to go for 3-0 Aberdeen.
3-0?
Yep, emphatic win for me. Hearts will be tired.
That's a good point. I'm going to go 2-0 to the Dons.
2-0 Aberdeen too.
Everyone won each.
What?
Yep. Well, if you listen to the Dundee manager last week, they were the better side. They should have won the game. I'm thinking back to the Aberdeen Motherwell game, 2-1. Motherwell had chances in that one. I think it's maybe just tapering off just a wee bit, but not enough for them to get beat. So I think Hearts will get a draw.
Yeah. Okay. And somebody just said that Ruffy won't take a flying. I just made that up, Ruffy. But anyway, sell out at Pittodrie Sunday, says Kaiser. I'm not surprised. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. I was up there last week. The buzz around the place is absolutely brilliant. So, can they split the Old Firm? Well, I have to say, Kerry has caught up with a Don's favourite from the past in Niall McGinn, and he reckons, once you hit the turn of the year, if they're still there, don't bet against them.
And the feeling around the club with the fans, the atmosphere, everyone's buzzing that the team are doing so well. They play Rangers and Celtic in a matter of weeks, as you mentioned. Can they split the two of them, do you think?
They have a chance. I think when I was part of a team that we were sort of winning most weeks and we're sort of running close, and it is going to be very, very hard over the course of a long old season to sort of keep close to Celtic and obviously Rangers as well. With Rangers dropping points already, sort of losing a game and drawing a game, and Aberdeen being consistent. So it's maintaining them standards out with the Old Firm games and winning games. And as like I said earlier, it's winning games that you aren't playing well, and if you can do that, who knows where that can take you. And even listening to the manager's quotes, it is only obviously when he spoke sort of last week, it was only September, and obviously the league's not won until obviously May. But I think now if they can get through these important periods and gain confidence from that, then there's no reason why they can't be in touching distance of both teams. But regarding sort of can obviously go into a title race, it's hard to say. I'd like to be positive, but sort of being there and being at the club, it's always been very, very hard. But I want to be positive, and I think the priority for them is just to take each and every game and run them as close as they possibly can. And if they're in with touching distance come around the Christmas period where they're being consistent, then see what sort of January, February brings. But I'm sure the manager's reiterating just sort of the being important of just winning games, taking each game as it comes, and I'm sure they'll be looking to do so.
Yeah, you can hear all of that interview with Niall McGinn, one-to-one with Kerry Pollock. Really good insight into the Aberdeen side at the moment, and also looking back to the time when he was wearing that red shirt. Big favourite at Pittodrie as well, Niall McGinn, really good player, and strutting his stuff in his twilight at Morton. Who knows, he reckons he's going to play on till he's 40, and I say more power to him, Tam.
Yeah, obviously I think he started in Derry City over in Ireland and got moved to Celtic. It's a great career, excellent at Aberdeen. I think he went to Korea for a short spell as well, which was a strange move. But I still playing, still fit, so I don't see any reason why if he stays away for injury he can't play at his 40. Okay,
Ross County take on Celtic. Are we in any way suggesting anything other than a Celtic win, Ruffy? Taylor and Cameron Carter-Vickers still out.
Yeah, no, I think obviously there'll be a lot of talking being done after the game. You know, the Celtic are no different from any other team. If the players haven't performed, I think the manager will have told them that. So remains to be seen who the manager thinks was partly responsible when the team lines come out, because he's got to start showing everybody that you're not a regular every week. If you don't perform, then you won't be playing. So it'll be interesting to see his team selection, but I still think it doesn't matter who goes on the park, they'll still be too good for Ross County.
Okay, prediction?
3-0.
3-0.
Yeah, 2-0.
4-1.
4-1. Okay, interesting shout there from you. 8 p.m. on a Sunday night. Strange for Rangers against St Johnstone. Somebody's got to take one for the team, Ali, and you're the person who's going to do it.
It's the Great Run. So all the roads are closed in and around Ibrox on Sunday, which
So
is
that's
why
the reason.
which is why the game is a later kick-off.
And funnily enough, the strange thing about it, which a lot of people are asking around the Clarkson area, you used to go and do a fair bit of running, but that's all gone now, Ali. It's finished for you?
Oh, it's still, it's just, you might not call it running. In fact, something loosely married to running.
I was just about to say, a lot of people are saying, there's Ali walking to the shops.
To buy a bottle of wine.
It's funny actually, Roffy, and they don't realise it, but because we've got such a young team of journalists who work for us, they are so dismissive of anyone over the age of 26. It's almost as if you're finished. And you know, what Ali and I are trying to remind them is, you know, it's great being in a 32 waist or a size 6 or 8 dress, but eventually what happens is you get married, you stay in, you have a pizza, you have a bottle of wine, and then eventually you realise that 6 dress has to go and the 32 waist is just a thing of the past, Ruffy.
I can't remember the last time I was in a 32 or a 6 dress.
Nearly the weekend.
Unbelievable, Ruffy. I knew you were going for that. Anyway, 8 o'clock. Now that we know there's a great run on, Patrick's actually doing it. So that's fantastic.
One of the young, fit
One of the young
members
team.
of the...
Yeah, it's running is a thing of the past. I genuinely, Tam, I genuinely say to them, having run 5 marathons and about 20 half marathons, when I see somebody running, I think, don't do it on the roads because you're going to need a resurfaced or a new hip.
Yeah, I was never a long distance runner, Peter. I was always a sprinter.
Yeah.
I hated. I just think it's boring. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And I remember we went to Chateau Row, you know, the big country pub, and
Chateau Row,
with Hibs, with Bobby Williamson, and we done I don't know, it was like a 10k run or something. And honestly, after about a k, I was just wanting to chuck it.
Yeah.
And I just feigned injury, and then I got lost somewhere in Chateau Row, and they were all looking for me. A search party looking for me at like half one. Everybody had their lunch and I was still out wandering about, didn't know where to go, shouting, I'm in here, get me! And Bobby went mental, so...
You know, you used to have to run up after seat.
I've done that and all.
Hibs used to go up, which was health and safety unbelievable.
Yeah.
But when I was at Thistle, I always used to take money with me for a taxi, because I knew you'd be that far behind.
And by the way, he's not joking. Rangers St Johnstone, I think Rangers are going to win this one 3-0.
Yeah, I think we've seen the levels last night. Well, you know, Rangers are not quite up to it in the Europa League against the better teams. But again, like Celtic, they'll come back and they're back in a decent habitat in terms of winning games, and I think they'll win 3-0 as well, like comfortable.
Absolutely. And Michael Taylor's just put 3 words in there: cross-dresser, Ruffy. Yeah. Absolutely.
Something for the weekend.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Anyway, apart from anything else, are you going for Rangers to win?
Yes, I think...
I'm going 4-0.
What? 4-0?
4-0.
Yeah, I don't think Simo Valakari, the new manager, will be happy with that, although he's not in charge for that game. Andy Kirk will still be there.
Yeah, no, I can't see past Rangers on Sunday. I think they'll want a reaction. I think coming off the back of a very dispiriting European performance, you almost want to come and reassert yourself domestically. I fancy Rangers to win it without any real headaches.
Okay, just before we go, here's the English Premier League for the weekend and what you can look forward to. Crystal Palace, Liverpool, Arsenal, Southampton, Brentford, Wolves, Leicester City, Bournemouth, Manchester City, Fulham, West Ham, Ipswich, Everton, Newcastle, Aston Villa, Man United, Chelsea, Nottingham Forest and Brighton, Tottenham. Wow, there's 2 games there that are maybe worth watching. However, I'd watch Liverpool every day of the week, but of the others, I'm thinking just 2: Everton, Newcastle, and Aston Villa, Man U.
No,
No,
they've missed the best game out of them all.
Go on.
Bottom game.
Brighton and
Tottenham.
Yeah.
Brighton and Tottenham will be the big game of the weekend, because I watched Ange Postecoglou last night. They've now won 5 games in the trot. Spurs, after calling for his head not that long ago.
Yeah.
They played a lot of younger players last night, and I think, but every time you watch Tottenham, you're guaranteed goals. And it might not be for them, might be for the other team.
Yeah.
I remember last season they went down to Brighton and they were getting 3 or 4 nothing down. They get hammered and they come back. I think it was 4-2 or something. But I would watch Spurs every day. I think they're brilliant to watch.
Okay, interesting stuff from you. Just before we go, we'll finish on a positive note. The SPFL have released their figures, and the turnover has grown to 44.3 million, the highest ever figure in the league's history, according to the annual accounts. And with that in mind, there's an increase, obviously, for clubs getting payments out to them, which is always a good thing, Alison.
Yeah, I think that's what you want. You want to see a continual and sustained growth. It would suggest that things are moving in the right direction.
Yep, fingers crossed that it keeps going that way.
Inverness already on the phone.
Well, just that was my footnote to it.
Can I get an advance?
The sad thing is we finished.
They have getting advanced. They do sometimes.
Yeah, Inverness 1.6 million just to survive to the end of the season.
Yeah, a lot of bad decisions. I mean, off the top of my head, I know it's not a footballing thing, but I know they did a big concert last year. What's his name?
Elton John?
No, the opera singer.
Andrea Bocelli.
And lost a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money. I don't know what went wrong. And I think they're suffering from that's one of their biggest headaches that day.
Yeah, and full marks to Duncan Ferguson. Okay, he's probably made his money, but it's still a great gesture. He's not taking anything at the moment, just trying to help the club as he manages them, trying to get the results and helping them financially. Let's hope somebody steps in there to help Inverness, a great club. Love to see it continue without hitting administration. We talk football. We want you to hit the subscribe button. We've also got something that we will be putting out to all our YouTube viewers, our subscribers over the weekend that we hope you will lend your support to for PLZ Soccer. We want to take it to the next level, expand and offer you even more programming and become the only place that you will come to for football, not only here in Scotland but across the UK. Hopefully you're enjoying our programming. Download the app. You can get us on the website and you can watch the programme at your leisure or on that YouTube channel on your big telly as well. More and more people realise now that the digital channels are where it's at. YouTube is growing year by year, replacing the likes of Netflix and of course analogue television. This is where you get your football, and we're delighted that you're supporting us in great numbers. From Ruffy, Alison, Tam McManus and myself, Peter Martin, have a great weekend at the football. Thanks for listening and watching.